Welcome in, everyone, to the Football Addicts Anonymous podcast. Looks like it's just me today. Chris and Mark possibly, maybe on later. But yeah, full weekend of football in the books, including the two college football playoff semifinals and week 17 NFL. So let's get it started. We got to recap all that. And then we'll preview the last bowl game before the national championship on Tuesday. And then the Monday night game tonight between the Browns and Steelers. So starting off New Year's Eve on Friday, Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, number 17, Wake Forest crushing Rutgers 38-10, like we knew they would. 11-win season for Wake Forest there. Sam Hartman tied Lamar Jackson for the most touchdowns in a single season. I believe it is in ACC history. 51, I think, was the record that he tied. But yeah, pretty good game for him. 304, 3 touchdowns, just under 60% there. Rutgers used 3 different quarterbacks. Johnny Langen's really their guy that does it all, passes, rushes, and catches. As you can see, he was the leading receiver. 6 catches, 57 yards for the Scarlet Knights. And yeah, great way for Sam Hartman to end his season here. And A.T. Perry, fantastic game as well. 10 catches, 127 yards, and a touchdown. Brandon Chapman scored twice for the Demon Deacons. And then defensively, I'm going to go with Rutgers' Desmond Igbinosun. 3 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a QB hurry. Wake Forest covered minus 16.5, under 62.5. Tony the Tiger Sunball. I'm sure Mark would love to be here to make fun of me for Washington State. I bet them live when they were coming back in the second half. Fell just short, 3 points short, but pretty good game. Tale of two halves, Daniel Richardson and both quarterbacks for Washington State. All 3 weren't very effective. It was the running game. Lou Nichols for the Chippewas, 28 carries, 120 yards, and a touchdown. Did turn it over once, but also chipped on 2 catches for 38 yards. I think Washington State really missed running back Max Borghi. I believe he opted out for the game or was injured. And then Victor Gabalis, though, the quarterback, he brought him back. I mean, he was the deciding factor in the second half, was able to get him within 3. So defensively, a lot of stats here, a lot of sacks, tackles for loss. I think I'm going to go with Central Michigan's defensive lineman Troy Hairston II, though. 4 tackles, 3 of them solos, 1.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss, and a quarterback hurry. Central Michigan plus 5.5, under 56. All right, the first college football playoff semifinal at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Number 1 Alabama got it done 27-6, romping over number 4 Cincinnati. It didn't feel as though it was that bad of a game. A 21-point deficit at the end. But as you can see, Bryce Young really didn't have to do much. He only threw for 181 yards, did throw 3 touchdowns, which were the deciding factor. But yeah, he threw a pick, a little over 60% completion, under 200 yards. So Desmond Ritter was was not that great, 53% completion, 144 yards, no ground game to speak of. But Brian Robinson Jr. for Alabama, 26 carries, 204 yards. He was the game right there. Jerome Ford, decent average as well for the Bearcats, just not enough in a losing effort there. And as you can see, there's no Jameson Williams on here. They beat Cincinnati without Jameson Williams producing a major factor. Now, he was, I believe, 4 yards short of the receiving lead for Alabama and the game, but Ja'Cory Brooks, 4 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown, took that. Defensively, I am going to go with Will Anderson Jr., 6 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, and 2 tackles for loss. A monster Will Anderson Jr. is, and UGA is going to have to stop him in the Natty coming up next Monday. Alabama cover minus 13, under 57.5 hit. The other semifinal, go damn dogs. College football playoff semifinal at the Capital One Orange Bowl. Number 3, Georgia rolling number 2, Michigan, 34-11. I was at the bar with my fellow dog fans watching this amazing game. Stetson Bennett played outstanding, 66.7% completion, 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no turnovers. He ran the ball 3 times for 32 yards. Both quarterbacks ineffective for Michigan. McCarthy, just over 40% completion, under 150 passing yards, and he did throw 1 touchdown late. And then Cade McNamara threw 2 picks, just over 100 yards passing, and a little under 60% completion. So the running game wasn't as effective, but Zamir White got it done enough. James Cook was outstanding in the passing game. 4 receptions, 112 yards, and a touchdown to go along with 6 carries for 32 yards. Blake Corum put the ball on the ground once for the Michigan offense. And then Kenny McIntosh, the thrower of the trick pass that went to, I believe it went to Brock Bowers. I could be wrong. But yes. The defensively, I am going to go with Nolan Smith. He was everywhere. 8 linebacker for Georgia, 8 tackles, 5 of them solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 1 QB hurry. Darian Kendrick also had a great game with 2 picks as well. Georgia covered minus 7.5, under 46 hit, and number 1 Alabama versus number 3 Georgia for the national championship next Monday. New Year's Day Outback Bowl, number 21 Arkansas beating up on Penn State 24-10. Sean Clifford was atrocious. Threw 2 picks. They were up early. I mean, it was 10-0, I believe, 10-3, I think it was, and just couldn't do anything after that. So KJ Jefferson, not that great throwing the ball, but running the ball, the Penn State defense couldn't stop it at all. 20 carries, 110 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Rocket Sanders, 13 carries, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns as well. Again, the running game was not going for Penn State most of the day. Parker Washington, though, had an outstanding day filling in for Jahan Dotson, who opted out. 7 catches, 98 yards, 2 carries, and 12 yards there. And defensively, I think I got to go with Penn State's Smith Vilbert. 4 tackles, 3 solos, 3 sacks, and 3 tackles for loss. Arkansas cover minus 3.5, under 51. PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. This game was crazy. A storming comeback from the Cowboys. Number 9 Oklahoma State 37-35 over number 5 Notre Dame. And it's hard to see how the Irish lost when you look at Jack Cohn's stat line. I mean, he threw it 68 times, 55.9% completion, but 509 yards and 5 touchdowns. Did throw a pick, but Spencer Sanders was just as good. I mean, 51 attempts, 66.7% completion, 371 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. He fumbled the ball once, but he also ran 17 times for 125 yards. Was absolutely a crazy game. Would get crazier in the next game, but the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl was definitely one of my favorite games to watch on New Year's Day. What's up, Mark?
What's going on?
How was orientation?
It was good. I got all the ins and outs of the Texas Rangers organization.
Yeah, man, just talking about just got on to the Fiesta Bowl here, so I don't know if you wanted to if you had
I
any
heard,
notes on the other
I
bowls.
heard, I heard what you said last, and besides the Rose Bowl, because somebody came back and it was full of bunch of scoring. This was probably second favorite game, obviously, besides cheering on the Dogs of the weekend.
Yeah, I said I know you would have loved to be on earlier to make fun of me for Washington State for the umpteenth time. But anyways, your cousin had a nice game in this one. Jalen Warren, 19 carries, 82 yards, 6 receptions, 34 yards. So 116 total yards on 25 touches.
It's a nice, productive game.
Running back Chris Tyree for the Irish, 6 catches, 115 yards and a touchdown. Big receiving day for him. And then I'll just roll through the 100-yard games for the receivers because there was 4 of them, 2 for each side. Brendan Presley for Oklahoma State could have won the game, but he got stripped on the goal line. 10 catches, 137 yards, and a fumble. And then for Notre Dame, Lorenzo Styles Jr., 8 catches, 136 yards, and a touchdown. Kevin Austin Jr. for the Irish, 6 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown. And then the day for Tay Martin, he was the guy that brought them back. Oklahoma State, 10 catches, 104 yards, and 3 touchdowns there. And then also tight end Michael Mayer, we've been talking about him all year for the Notre Dame. 7 catches, 72 yards, and 2 scores as well. Defensively, my player of the game, it's easy. Malcolm Rodriguez. He is their best defensive player that they have for Oklahoma State. 11 tackles, 8 solos, 2 pass deflections, a QB hurry, and 1 pick. Oklahoma State cover -1 over 45 easily. The Verbo Citrus Bowl, number 22, Kentucky, 20-17 over number 15, Iowa. And I told y'all on Friday, Will Levis, man, he would get it done. He would be the better quarterback, and he had to do it. He brought him back, drove him down at the end of the game, scored the game-winning touchdown, and they got the win.
I agreed with you. I'm not a Petrus fan for Iowa by any
means. Chris Rodriguez also major factor for the Wildcats, 20 carries, 107 yards, and a touchdown. Also caught a 5-yard score. Petrus threw 3 picks in this game. It's a wonder how Iowa was even still in the game, but it was that vaunted defense that we've seen all year that kept them in it. Gavin Williams for Iowa, no Tyler Goodson, he opted out. So 16 carries, 98 yards, 2 catches, 14 yards for him. Wan'Dale Robinson was outstanding as well for Kentucky. 10 receptions, 170 yards, big time contributor on that game-winning drive at the end. And then Sam Laporta, the all-star tight end for Iowa, 7 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown as well. Stars being stars in this game. Defensively, I'm actually going to go with Iowa. Defensive lineman Zach Van Valkenburg, 8 tackles, 4 solos, 2 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. And Kentucky -3 pushed, under 44 hit. All right, the craziest game of all, and it was this Rose Bowl game presented by Capital One Venture X. Number 6 Ohio State won it 48-45 in a comeback effort over number 11 Utah. And before we get into the stats, Mark, was this Rose Bowl better than the college football playoff semifinal Georgia, Oklahoma.
No, there's more on the line than that. I'm a big just fan of blocked field goals. That's bigger than some of the plays that happened in this, but this was wildly entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it's a shame that get injuries. Wanted to see what would have happened the rest of the way. Cameron Rising got injured in the fourth quarter. Wasn't able to come back. But Bryson Barnes did throw a touchdown that tied the game for Utah. So you got to give credit to the freshman Barnes there. Never threw a pass in his college career. So I thought that was pretty special. But then, CJ Stroud, a monster night, 37 of 46, 80.4% completion, 573, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. And it was Jackson Smith and Jigba. No Chris Olave, no Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, that was the big thing for me is I didn't even talk. I talked about those two and didn't even bring him up in the pregame show.
Yeah, and I mentioned him. And I don't remember exactly what I said. I just know I mentioned him, and I was like, he's not bad either, and he's going to be the number 1 next year. So, but bowl records, 15 receptions, 347 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns. Did fumble at once, but just an amazing, crazy game. And he was their offense. There was no one else. It was him. And actually, I shouldn't say that. Marvin Harrison Jr. Yes,
yeah,
we're that old now, Mark. We're that old.
Yeah. When I was watching this and realized that's what I told myself. Wow, I'm old.
Yeah, 6 catches, 71 yards. He scored 3 times as well. So, great games for those two. Circling back, the running backs, Travion Henderson for Ohio State, the leading ball carrier in this one, 17 carries, 83 yards, 4 catches, 27 yards. How about Micah Bernard for Utah? 3 carries, 31 yards. He had 2 catches, 15 yards, and a touchdown. And he's a two-way player. Put in 10 tackles and 9 of them solo on defense as well. And then also, my guy, I mentioned him on Friday too. I was happy I mentioned him, and I told y'all he was going to take one back. Britton Covey, 3 catches, 34 yards, and a touchdown. He also ran it twice for 10 yards and a 97-yard kick return touchdown. Not a lot of defensive stats in here, so I'm going to go with the best tackles, even though, I could go Utah because of the pick. But linebacker Tommy Eichenberg for Ohio State, 17 tackles, 11 of them solo, and 1 tackle for loss. Utah did cover, though, +4 on a decision at the end of the game by Ryan Day to kick a 19-yard field goal instead of trying to run it in at the 1-yard line. And then over 64.5 easily. Last bowl game here, All-State Sugar Bowl, number 7 Baylor, 21-7 over number 8 Ole Miss. And again, it is injuries, man. This game would have been completely different had Matt Corral not gotten hurt. The Baylor defense was doing a great job on him early on anyways. They got the 7-0 lead on Al Walcott's 96-yard pick 6, but we'll have to see. I haven't really researched if anything significant happened to Corral or not, but we'll have to see when that comes around draft process time. But yeah, I really don't know how Baylor won this game. Jerry Bohannon was terrible. Luke Altmaier for Ole Miss actually wasn't bad. He threw 2 picks, but did throw 174 yards and a touchdown that at the time got it to within 1 score, 14-7. But Abram Smith, I guess, was the difference here for the Bears. 25 carries, 172 yards, also chipped in a catch for 6 yards as well.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about Lane Kiffin being able to dial things up, and I mean, you got to be happy with only giving up 21 points. They just didn't score, and
Yeah, Dave Aranda had that defense rolling. Dontario Drummond there, the lone 100-yard receiver for Ole Miss, 9 catches, 104 yards. And then defensively, a lot of stats here. I already mentioned Walcott with his pick 6. But how about linebacker Terrell Bernard for the Baylor Bears? 17 tackles, 10 of them solo, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and a pass deflection. Also got to mention safety JT Woods for Baylor as well with 2 picks. Baylor +1 covered and under 60. All right, NFL time here. The Birds are in the playoffs. Eagles 20-16. They locked it up with a Vikings loss and a Niners win yesterday. But it was another comeback. I wish they would stop doing this. They spotted Washington 10 points for the second straight time against them. And were able to come back, sealed it with the Rodney McLeod pick in the end zone. I don't think Jalen Hurts played terribly. I was happy he gave Coach Sirianni the green light to run him more. 7 carries for 44 yards there. But yeah, Boston Scott, nice day for him. 47 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 4 receptions, 39 yards. I could have used the touchdowns from Jordan Howard instead. That would have been cool instead of Boston Scott. But yeah, I was impressed by Jarrett Patterson. His first career start, 98 total yards, 12 carries, 57 yards, and a touchdown, 5 catches, 41 yards there. Dallas Goedert continues to be the leading receiver for Philly. Really great matchup there. And yeah, it was a good win for the Eagles. We'll see if they rest everyone on Saturday or not.
Yeah, and they got into the playoffs.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes sense to rest everyone. I think they just got a bunch of people added on the COVID list today, which we'll talk about. But, they can only get to 6. 6 is the highest they can go. And that only happens if the Niners lose and the Saints win. So we'll have to see. But defensive player of the game here, Josh Sweat has been a revelation at defensive end for the Eagles. 5 tackles, 3 of them solo, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass deflections, and 2 quarterback hits. Washington cover +6, under 44.5. Bills in a comeback, 29-15 over the Falcons. Josh Allen looked like crap, man. I don't understand how he couldn't throw the ball against the Falcons' crappy defense, but he threw 3 picks, 2 of which were deflected. So I guess possibly not his fault, but luckily he can run the ball, 81 yards and 2 touchdowns on 15 carries. Matt Ryan wasn't spectacular either. So
yeah, this one had outside conditions were not favorable. So you thought, the Bills would have a leg up, and they did at first. I mean, it started off kind of odd, but then they were up 14-2 going into the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Falcons just said, we'll play a little bit of football, and the Bills just looked kind of like what they've been in all season. Like at times, they look good, and at other times they're on a roller coaster and can't hold on to the ball. They look out of sync, and Allen looks normal, and then he reels off a play with his legs, and you're like, okay, well, that's what he brings to the table, and so he's still very, dynamic. And everybody talks about them having great numbers as a defense and stuff. My question, since it's the end of the season, is what type of Bills team are we going to see in the playoffs?
The one that gets to the Super Bowl. That's the one.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see it.
But I told y'all, I keep telling I told y'all on Friday, Devin Singletary was going to have a game, and y'all doubted me, and he did have a game. 23 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. I wanted him to have a LaShawn McCoy snow game, and he did. So I was very happy with Devin Singletary in this game, proving me right. And Kyle Pitts making history, becoming only the second rookie tight end ever to eclipse 1,000 yards. He has a shot next week to pass Ditka, I believe. So in 3 more games than Ditka had. So props to Mike Ditka in his rookie season.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he got off to kind of a slow start at the beginning of the season. They found ways to utilize him, but it's the Falcons. I don't think you're hearing about Jamar Chase, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like everybody's talking about Kyle Pitts as this or that, but he's quietly, in my opinion, I guess is a good word, because living in Athens, he doesn't get that much publicity. He's had a solid season.
Yeah, defensively, I'm going to go with the Falcons player here. Corner AJ Terrell, 7 tackles, 6 of them solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, a pass deflection, a QB hit, and a pick. Bills pushed -14, under 46. By 2. Bears crushing the Giants 29-3. Yeah, Andy Dalton got the start coming back from his injury. Mike Lennon was the most dumpster fire of dumpster fires that you could see. I am so happy I didn't watch this game because it was just, I mean, I don't understand how you can play worse. Like 4 of 11, that's 36.4%, 24 yards, 2 picks. You have a 5.3 quarterback rating. And he carried it 1 time for 13 yards, but he also fumbled it twice. So he turned it over 4 times. The Bears got a safety on the Giants. Angelo Blackson tackled Glennon in the end zone, I believe. And yeah, it is just atrocious. And again, I'm happy I didn't watch this game. Saquon, his first 100-yard game in quite a while. 21 carries, 102 yards there for Saquon Barkley. David Montgomery scoring 2 times as well. He also had a trick play. I guess he threw a pick, but no service mark, huh?
I must have hit something.
But yeah, Mike Glennon, dude. I don't know why they didn't go to Fromm in this game. I mean, what would have been the hurt, you know?
I mean, they made a switch last week. Why wouldn't they make it this week? I just kept thinking to myself, I didn't watch this game. I didn't think it was going to be worth it. So I was tracking on my phone. I was like, well, why didn't I pick the Bears as a lock? Because they're just crushing the Giants.
Yeah. Darnell Mooney had a nice game, 7 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown on 13 targets. And defensively, take your pick. I'm going to go with the Giants, actually, though. Lorenzo Carter had a nice game, Georgia guy. 6 tackles, 5 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, pass deflection, and a QB hit.
Are the Giants the worst team in the NFL?
Probably. I mean,
throw out the records. I mean, they have the same bad record, but
we'll see.
Terrible. They're terrible.
We'll see. The Jags got spanked as well.
Yeah.
But props to Robert Quinn in this game. He had 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits, and a tackle. Broke the Bears single season sack record. I believe he's up to 18.5 or something like that. So props to him. The Bears covered -6.5 under. That's how bad this game was. The Giants were so bad they couldn't even hit the over. Under 36.5 hit. All right, this was the best game of the day yesterday. Bengals 34-31 over the Chiefs. Joe Burrow, monster day, 446, 4 touchdowns back to back, 400-yard games and 4 touchdown games. You know, he threw 5 last week, 525 yards wise. But I guess before we get into the rest of the game, Joe Burrow for MVP, Mark.
I said it on Friday, and look exactly what he did.
I would.
mean, they went 4-13 last year with 1 win after him, and he's turned them all the way around to already winning 10 games and the NFC North. AFC North champions. I mean, what more do you want from somebody that's MVP? We knew Rutgers was going to play net well. Everybody talked about Brady having a better season than last year. I think he's my MVP.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you got to look at, you mentioned the AFC North. Rodgers, he doesn't play anyone in the NFC North. The Lions suck, the Bears suck, and the Vikings suck.
And that was my argument with Brady is, no offense to the Panthers, they went down after an okay start. The Saints, I mean, they're 500, and then the Falcons are atrocious.
Yeah, and then I mean, look at the, if the Steelers can pull a rabbit out of the hat and get in the playoffs, I don't know. You're gonna have 2 teams in the playoffs, but all 4 teams are gonna be close to 500. And it was a battle all the way until, this weekend. So I would love to see it happen, considering the preseason bet that I had, $10 to win $450 if Joe Burrow wins the MVP. So that'd be very cool with me. But in the game, anyways, Mahomes was pretty good, 259, 2 touchdowns. And I mean, they had multiple 14-point leads over the Bengals a couple different times during the game. Darrell Williams, I hate you. Why couldn't you have done this last week or 2 weeks ago when I had to start you in my dynasty league because all my other backs are hurt? 14 carries, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 catches, 19 yards. You scored 1.2 points when I started you. So thank you for nothing. And Jamar Chase, dude, I mean, ridiculous. It was almost as ridiculous as Jackson Smith and Jigba's Rose Bowl. 11 catches, 266 yards, and 3 touchdowns on 12 targets. On the game-winning drive, I know Nate was here with me watching the games, and he was playing on his phone, and I was watching it, and I was like, dang, dude, like 3rd and 27, they're going to have to kick a field goal, and then it's going to be too much time for Mahomes. They converted a 3rd and 27, just dropped it in the bucket, did Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase. And that set up the goal to go sequence that was just amazing for Zach Taylor. And, they got 4th and goal. They're going to go for it. Joe Mixon gets stopped at the goal line because they were actually trying to score on 4th and goal. The first 3 plays, they were just trying to kill time. 4th and goal, they try to score. They don't get it. There's offsetting penalties on the teams. So we retry 4th and goal. They throw the ball this time. Holding on the Chiefs defense, move it up 2 inches, and, run the ball a little bit, and, they kicked the game-winning field goal. So, yeah, Jamar Chase had an outstanding game. And defensively, Chiefs, Chris Jones, defensive tackle, 4 tackles, all of them solo, 2 sacks, 2 tackles lost, and 3 quarterback hits. was a monster game for him in a losing effort. Bengals covered plus 3.5 over 51. Titans just annihilating the Dolphins 34-3. Yeah, Tua looked bad. I did not watch this game. I was watching some other ones, but yeah, it was not a good day for Miami and their playoff hopes. Now one game back with one to go. They got to have a lot of help to get in, but one pick, one fumble for Tua. Ryan Tannehill wasn't asked to do much. They ran the ball very well. Deontay Foreman, another guy, that I started before. He was on my bench, 26 carries, 132 yards, and a touchdown. Dontrell Hilliard also scored a touchdown, 8 carries, 45 yards, 3 catches, 33 yards as well. AJ Brown, not too much here, 2 for 41, leading Tennessee receiver. And Parker, 4 catches, 46 yards, 13 targets. We didn't see much of Jalen Waddle after he had a crazy game on Monday Night Football there against the Saints. The Titans defense made it a priority to shut him down, and that's exactly what they did in this game. Defensively, I'll go with the winning team. Danico Autry, the defensive end, 3 tackles, all of them solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and a QB hit. Titans cover -3, under 41. Raiders in a shocker in Indianapolis, 23-20, game winner by Daniel Carlson there. Derek Carr, pretty good game, 77.4%, 255, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, though, kept the Colts in it. You got to give it up to interim head coach Rich Bisaccia, has the Raiders in playoff contention. They're in a win and in game at the last game of the season on Sunday Night Football next week. So got to give him credit. Carson Wentz didn't do enough in this game. Looked erratic, under 60% completion, 148, 1 touchdown, 3 carries for 10 yards. Jonathan Taylor, this is the first time this season that they have lost when he ran for 100 yards and scored. So 20 carries, 108 yards and a touchdown, 1 interception, 6 yards. So, yeah, tough for the Colts. They got to beat the Jags, and they're in next week. So, I need them to lose to the Jags, unfortunately. So, Zay Jones, though, crazy game, weird out of the blue, 8 catches, 120 yards on 10 targets. Renfro had a nice game, 7 for 76 and a touchdown off 9 targets. And then defensively, what a day for defensive end Yannick Ngakoue. Only had 1 tackle. It was a solo. But 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and 4 quarterback hits on Carson Wentz. Raiders plus 8.5 covered, under 46.5. Patriots, I foreshadowed them spanking the Jags, and that's exactly what they did at home. 50-10. Mac Jones, nice day, 227, 3 touchdowns, 73.3% completion. No turnovers, 2 carries, 12 yards. They picked off Trevor Lawrence 3 times. Brian Hoyer even threw 75% on 4 throws, 63 yards. But the ground game, Ramondre Stevenson, nice day, 19 carries, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns. Damian Harris scored another 2 touchdowns there. And Laquan Treadwell, interesting, 6 catches, 87 yards. He's made a name for himself in Jacksonville this season on a pretty bad team. And weird, it's just one of those weird games where a random Patriots wide receiver goes off, 4 catches, 42 yards, 2 touchdowns on 8 targets for Christian Wilkerson. So defensively, corner J.C. Jackson for the Patriots, 4 tackles, all of them solo, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 1 pick. Patriots cover -17, over 41.5 by themselves. This was absolutely pitiful by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 28-24 over the Jets. They got it done. Tom Brady, game-winning touchdown drive. 34 of 50, 68%, 410 yards and 3 touchdowns and a pick. Zach Wilson, not too bad, 234 and a touchdown. Just not enough on a day where you give Brady enough time to come back down the field. So no running game to speak of for the Bucs. Ronald Jones got injured early on. Jets did a nice job of shutting their run game down. Rob Gronkowski, though, 7 catches, 115 yards on 10 targets. Nice day for Cyril Grayson after Antonio Brown's spat on the sideline where he took his stuff off and walked out of the stadium. 6 receptions, 81 yards, and the game-winning touchdown on 8 targets there. Braxton Berrios had a great day as well for the Jets. 8 catches, 65 yards, a touchdown on 12 targets. And he also ran twice for 12 yards and a touchdown. Did fumble it once, however. Defensively, Anthony Nelson for the Bucs, 3 tackles, all of them solos. 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, and a QB hit. Jets covered plus 14.5, over 47.5. Rams in a tight one, 2019 over the Ravens in Baltimore, almost essentially eliminating the Ravens from playoff contention and giving them a chance to clinch the NFC West with a win over the Niners next week. Matthew Stafford, 309, 2 touchdowns. You got to stop turning it over, Matt. 2 picks and a fumble in this game. Lucky they were able to come back. Tyler Huntley, or the Rams defense did a nice job against Tyler Huntley and the Ravens offense, stopping them and stalling them to field goal drives. Huntley, 197 and a pick, 6 carries, 54 yards as well. Sony Michel continued to have nice days. 19 carries, 74 yards and a touchdown, 3 catches on 25 yards. And Cooper Kupp, I mean, again, he's great. 6 catches, 95 yards, a touchdown. Mark Andrews continued his hot streak, 6 catches, 89 yards. And then Odell Beckham Jr., 5 catches, 39 yards, and the game-winning touchdown on 7 targets. You can't get much better. Chuck Clark for the Ravens, Von Miller for the Rams. Chuck Clark, 7 tackles, 4 solos, 3 pass deflections, 2 picks, and a 17-yard pick six on one of those. And then Von Miller, 5 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 3 QB hits. Probably his best game as a Ram so far after he came over in a trade. The Ravens covered plus 7, under 46.5 hit. Chargers crushing the Broncos 34-13. Drew Lock, not terrible. 245, 1 touchdown. He didn't turn it over. I think that was big for Drew Lock. 72%. Justin Herbert, not the greatest, 237, 2 touchdowns. Again, he didn't turn it over either. Eckler scored. He had 112 total yards on 20 touches. Melvin Gordon would have scored, which would have helped me tremendously in my 3rd place fantasy game, but got taken back on an illegal formation. Fant killed me in fantasy, 6 for 92 and a touchdown on 7 targets there. And then the Broncos almost had a trick play work. Kendall Hinton, 1 of 1 for 1 yard, throwing it to Drew Lock. Forgot to put his reception on there, but didn't get enough on it, and Lock got stopped at the 1. So defensive tackle Jerry Tillery for the Chargers, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a QB hit. Also got to mention Chargers got help on special teams. Andre Roberts took a 101-yard kick return back to the house. Chargers covered minus 7.5, over 45 by 2. Niners, 23-7 over the Houston Texans here. Trey Lance, nice day. I was giving him crap for the majority of yesterday, but he did enough. Got helped out by the ground game. So but yeah, 249, 2 touchdowns and a pick, 8 carries, 31 yards. Elijah Mitchell, like I said, helped him out. 21 carries, 119 yards, tipped in 2 catches for 11 yards and a touchdown there. Rex Burkhead again, 6 catches for 32 yards, leading rusher for the Texans. Killed me last week in fantasy in the semis. This was Lance's third start, I believe. Could be wrong, but his third start of the season. And this is his first career win because they lost against the Seahawks, lost against the Niners, and his other two. Or no, I think he only started once against the Cardinals. Anyways, his first career win for Trey Lance. So good for him. Brandon Ayuk, 4 catches, 94 yards on 6 targets. And Brandon Cooks continues to have solid outings, 7 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown on 11 targets there. Davis Mills just didn't have enough on offense in this game. So defensively, Arden Key for the Niners, 1 tackle. It was a solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and 4 quarterback hits on Davis Mills. The Niners covered minus 13.5 because of a last-second Kyle Shanahan field goal and under 44 hit. NFC South matchup, Saints 18-10 over the Panthers, keeping their season alive. Taysom Hill, no turnovers here, 222 and a touchdown, 12 carries, 45 yards. Sam Darnold back in the starting lineup. I didn't think he looked bad. The Saints defense was just very good. And the Panthers had it too. They were up 10-0 early. They were rolling along, and then, they just could not do anything after that. 132, a pick and a fumble for Sam Darnold. Didn't get help with his offensive line either. Had a bunch of drops too. Or maybe that was the Saints. I think that was the Saints. My bad. But Chuba Hubbard, nice day, 17 for 55 and a touchdown, 3 catches, 13 yards. Panthers defense did a pretty good job wrapping up Alvin Kamara and limiting him. Did have a very good receiving day, though. 5 catches, 68 yards and a touchdown. And Marquez Callaway, 6 catches, 97 yards, 10 targets there. Defensively, it's got Cameron Jordan. I mean, he had 4 career sacks on all the other games that he had played against Panthers. They had done a masterful job against him throughout his career. And then he just took one, took the door off the hinges in this game. 8 tackles, 6 solos, 3.5 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 3 QB hits. Saints cover -7, under 37. Cardinals in a great game, 25-22 over the Cowboys in Dallas. Kyler Murray, nice day, 263, 2 touchdowns, 9 carries, 44 yards, no turnovers there. Prescott had an just as solid day, 226, 3 touchdowns, 5 carries, 20 yards. Did turn it over once, however. Neither running game was spectacular for either team. Christian Kirk, 6 catches, 79 yards on 9 targets there. And Antoine Wesley coming out of nowhere for the Cardinals, 4 catches, 30 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 5 targets. Defensively, I'm going to go with safety Buda Baker for the Cardinals. 3 tackles, all of them solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass deflections, and a QB hit on Prescott. The Cardinals +6.5, under 52.5. My lone wolf. Seahawks romping the Lions 51-29. Tim Boyle actually played relatively well. 262, 2 touchdowns, a little under 60% completion. But he threw 3 picks. That was the detriment of the day. Russell Wilson, very solid, 69%, 236, 4 touchdowns, 6 carries, 24 yards. And the ground game for Seattle has been rolling all the last month or so. Rashad Penny has been outstanding, finally living up to that first-round billing. 25 carries, 170 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also 2 catches for 15 yards there. Not much work for DeAndre Swift in his return to the field for Detroit. 4 carries, 32 yards, 2 catches, and 7 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been a revelation for the Lions as well. as hot as they get in terms of rookie receivers, 8 receptions, 111 yards, 1 touchdown on 11 targets. Also ran it twice for 23 yards and a touchdown. Defensively, DJ Reed for the Seahawks corner, 8 tackles, 7 of them solo, 3 pass deflections, and 2 interceptions. Seahawks cover -9 over 41. Seahawks by themselves. Sunday Night Football, Packers crushing the Vikings 37-10. Sean Mannion, horrible night, 189, 1 touchdown. He didn't turn it over, which was good for him, but Aaron Rodgers, 288, 2 touchdowns, 76.3% completion. Normal night for Rodgers at home in Green Bay on a frigid night there last night. Aaron Jones, 8 carries, 76 yards, 5 catches, 30 yards as well. A.J. Dillon scored twice for the Packers on the ground. Devontae Adams had a normal workload, 11 receptions, 136 yards, and a touchdown on 14 targets there. And, Dalvin Cook was shut down all night by the Packers. They knew Sean Mannion was not going to beat them, and they made sure that Dalvin Cook would not. So 9 carries, 13 yards, and 3 receptions for 0 yards for Dalvin Cook on the night. Defensively, I think I got to go with Rashawn Gary for the Packers. 2 tackles, both of them solo, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 4 hits on Mannion. Packers covered -12.5 over 42.5 hit, and they are the number 1 seed in the NFC. Got to go through Green Bay to make it to the Super Bowl. All right, NCAA news here. Biggest news of the day, Oklahoma quarterback Caleb Williams is entering the transfer portal. He did say that a return to OU is not out of the question, so we'll have to monitor that to see where he goes. But yeah, interesting to note that Caleb Williams is in the transfer portal, and apparently the Georgia Bulldogs are in the lead, the front runner to land Caleb Williams. That from CBS Sports. Wow, that would be big. That would definitely be big. NFL news-wise, COVID here. Placed on the list today, Packers safety Darnell Savage, Lions offensive tackles Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker, Vikings offensive guard Ezra Cleveland, and offensive tackles Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw, and linebacker Eric Kendricks. Eagles had a lot of guys placed on the list today. Defensive tackle Fletcher Cox, tight end Dallas Goedert, center Jason Kelsey, linebackers Jannard Avery and Alex Singleton, running backs Boston Scott and Jordan Howard, corner Avonte Maddox, and safety Rodney McLeod. So with the new protocols, majority of those should be able to return by their Saturday night game with the Cowboys. 1 COVID activation today. Titans wide receiver Julio Jones. They will get him back as they fight the Chiefs off for the number 1 seed next week against the Houston Texans. And a couple of injuries here. Seahawks linebacker Bobby Wagner suffered MCL and PCL sprains. He will not be playing in their regular season finale against the Cardinals. And then Giants quarterback Mike Glennon also will not play. He injured his wrist, so I assume it's going to be Jake Fromm in his second career start against the Washington football team. Pick standings here. Mark and I, he rolled with me last week, so we are on there. I'm still 3 back from him. I jumped up on Chris. We're tied now, but I had the best record last week. So Chris, like I said, Mark went with me on everything. So Chris lone wolfed the Nevada and Western Michigan game. Got that one wrong. Got the Air Force lone wolf over Louisville right. Lost on the Maryland against Virginia Tech. He picked Virginia Tech by himself. He won, however, on the Clemson over Iowa State pick, and then he lost on picking Pitt against Michigan State. And then he also lost picking the Saints to beat the Dolphins last Monday night. So there it is, going in the final week of Monday Night Football here, so we will not have many games to pick. We'll have the national championship next week. I believe that's our last game that we will pick for the season. So we got 2 games to pick this week. The last bowl game before the national championship. This is tomorrow, Taxac Texas Bowl, LSU against Kansas State. That is supposed to be a KSU logo. That is my bad. Forgot to edit that there. So we'll do it now. We love having that capability to change it in show. So we'll switch that to KSU right here. We are all on the Wildcats against the Tigers. There's just too much going on for LSU right now, with Brian Kelly coming in, obviously not coaching this game. Max Johnson transferring. They had a couple other people transfer out. So I think Skylar Thompson and Deuce Vaughn can get it done for this game. If Vaughn is playing, I'm not sure if Deuce is playing or not. But yeah, K-State -7, over under is 47.5. I'm going to go under. No confidence in either team, so under 47.5. 9 p.m. on ESPN tomorrow night. And the game tonight, last game of week 17, Browns at the Steelers. Steelers 2.5-point favorites. They started out the week 3-point underdogs. We're all on Pittsburgh. It's Ben's last home game. I think they're going to come out motivated. They will not start slow like they have been. Ben has owned the Browns throughout his career, and I think he will show that he still owns the Browns going into week 18, where they need to win out to have a chance. They need to win out and have the Jags beat the Colts next week in order to get into the playoffs. It's a long shot, but you can only control what you can control. And I think the Steelers get the first win that they need tonight at home in Ben's last game. So over under is 43. And, the Steelers had not been great at hitting overs. Give me the defense and give me the under 43 tonight. 8:15 on ESPN in just a little bit. Next week, we'll be back on Monday. It is college football playoff national championship day. We will be on a little bit earlier. Game starts at 8:20, I believe. Let me just make sure here. 8 o'clock. So we will probably be on a little bit earlier just to make sure we can get to the bar in time to watch the game, So I'm hoping that we can get on maybe at 3 o'clock or 2. We'll see. We will announce that when we get that figured out for next Monday's show. And that is the show for today, y'all. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio.